a lot has happened in the NBA in the past. It's been 3 weeks, I think. About 3 weeks since I made my last Speedy Weekly video. So this is like, it's kind of Speedy Weekly video, but it's more just just me rambling about basketball. Cause if you didn't know, Kenny made his little rambling about basketball for 28 minutes thing. So now I'm making my rambling about basketball for however long this video is. You know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's been a very long time since I've talked about basketball. So, first of all, let me look at the last time I talked. Like, last time y'all actually heard from me. I'm not cutting any of this out, by the way. All-Star Weekend. Wow, All-Star Weekend was the last time I... That's something. That's like 3 weeks ago at this point. That's... Wow. On YouTube it says 2 weeks ago because I uploaded it on the Monday, but it's pretty much 3 weeks. I'm gonna just go team by team pretty much. And I might talk about certain players who I want to talk about. And we're just gonna catch up on everything that's been going on in the league. First of all, just a general little recap. We're getting closer to the playoffs. We're past the All-Star break. Like, there's less than 20 games left. Actually, now I think about it, because 45 plus 24. Nah, but they played a lot of games. Can I see how many games they have left? No, that sucks. What if okay, so 45 plus 24, I can't do math. 69. So the Heat, this is just a random team, the first team I saw, they have 13 games left in their season, but on the other hand, the Sixers have, I'm guessing, 15. So it's like a lot of teams are in that little range. Yeah, between 15 and maybe 12 games left in the season. And that's interesting, man. We made it a long way. We are here, almost the end of the season. It's about to be the playoffs in a few weeks. And are we ready? I don't know. Teams are starting to make pushes for the playoffs. Teams are starting to like try to get ahead. And one perfect example of that is the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat are currently the first seed and by 2.5 games. This is probably like the biggest difference in those top 5 teams that there's been in a while. Even though the Cavs and the Nets like completely fell out of it, like the Cavs are still 2 games behind, so not completely, but still they fell out. And the Nets are like a whole 5.5 games behind the Celtics, who are the 5th, so they definitely fell out of it. But the Nets won today, I'm pretty sure, so they're starting to get back into it. My point is, the Heat are teams are starting to separate themselves from the rest. So the Heat right now are the first seed, and they're 45 and 24. The Heat are really good at finding just guys who could play basketball really well. So the Heat are doing good, and then you can't forget about the Sixers with James Harden, Joel Embiid. They've been doing good, although they did recently have a blowout loss to the Nets. And yeah, they're still doing really good, and they're second in the conference right now. And I want to see how this ends up for the playoffs. Like these top 7 teams, really. Like, I'm not including the Nets because like their seeding I don't really care about. But the Raptors are 7th, then the Cavs are 6th, then the Boston Celtics are 5th. The Bulls are 4th. The Bucks are 3rd. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. My point is, it's a very close race. And yeah, some teams are separating themselves from the rest. The Bucks have been cold for a bit, and because I think they were on a losing streak for a few games. They were winning some games before that they lost their most recent one, which kind of sucks. But it's the Bucks, so they'll probably be fine. There's also the Bulls, who are they're facing a lot of injuries right now, and they were the first seed at one point, but now they fell down to like 4th. So hopefully, I don't know how it's gonna go for them. Right, if the playoffs started today, and the play-in, like the teams that were in the places just stayed in place, then it'd be Heat versus Nets, Sixers versus Raptors, Bucks versus Cavs, and Bulls versus Celtics. And those are some interesting matchups. I want to see who wins the Bulls versus Celtics one, because that's a really good playoff matchup. Anyways, I can't wait for the playoffs, man. I cannot wait for the playoffs. I really want to see the Eastern Conference playoffs, because I want to see those top 8 teams are like, because I know I hope the Hawks and the Hornets don't make the playoffs, because I know they're not going to do anything. The team out of the top 8 that has the least chance of moving on is, I'm gonna be honest, it's probably the Raptors. And I mean, if they face off against the Heat, I do think they have a small chance, because like, you know, but what would be really cool because right now the Sixers are 2nd and the Heat are 1st. If the Nets beat the Sixers if the Nets beat the Raptors in the play-in, then they can face off against the Sixers in the first round, Raptors versus Heat. And Raptors versus Heat is definitely a really good matchup, because the Raptors and Heat games this year have been amazing. And then the Sixers versus Nets would also be a really good matchup. So, you know, I think, actually, who do you think has a better chance of making the second round, the Cavs or the Raptors? That would be a good poll idea. Just, if you guys are watching this, type it in the comments, bro. Who do you think has a better chance of making the second round, the Raptors or the Cavs? I'd probably say the Cavs, just because Darius Garland is amazing, Jared Allen's an all-star, and Evan Mobley is probably going to be the Rookie of the Year. But for for the Raptors, they have a really similar team, actually, where they have an all-star guard, they have a borderline all-star big, they have a Rookie of the Year candidate, and then a great supporting cast. They also both teams play big, both teams in the East, and both teams are pretty young, relatively young at least. Actually, both teams have a good power forward veteran, like Kevin Love and Thaddeus Young. So it's the comparison between those two teams is crazy. If those two teams faced off in a playoff series, that would definitely be entertaining. But I'm just waiting to see who the Raptors face off against. I'd be fine with the Raptors facing off against, because the Raptors, I feel decently confident with them in a series against the Heat. Against the Sixers, I don't know, maybe, you never know. Against the Bucks, I feel confident, even though Giannis hasn't played in the games that the Raptors played the Bucks this year. The Raptors have beat the Bucks twice, so if they could just do that in the playoffs, then that's a W. I don't feel as confident as I do with the Heat, but still I feel decently confident. The Bulls, I don't know. The Raptors have had struggles against the Bulls this year. They did win their most recent game against the Bulls, so yeah, that's something, but still I'm, kind of iffy about that one. The Celtics are also another team that might face the Raptors later in the playoffs. I don't know how I feel about them against the Celtics, because for some reason, whenever it's Raptors versus Celtics, the Celtics just have something against the Raptors where they just ball out for no reason. But anyways, and then you got the Cavs, who I already talked about. That would be an interesting series. And the Nets, I mean, the Raptors, it really depends on Kyrie. If Kyrie's playing, like, consistently, because I heard they have to pay a fine for him to play in home games. So if Kyrie's playing consistently, then, and if KD's on his game and if Ben Simmons is back, then chances are we lose that series. But if Kyrie's inconsistent and KD's just normal KD, I think the Raptors do have it, and Ben Simmons is like not completely there. I have a feeling that the Raptors have a chance of winning that series. But yeah, that now we talked about the playoff teams. Is there anything else I need to talk about with them? Giannis is MVP candidate. Joel Embiid's an MVP candidate, and Jason Tatum is actually really good. Like, Jason Tatum's having a great season. He's having a really good season. I really like what the Cavs are doing. They lost LeBron, but they got better. So, and right now they're doing better than the team LeBron is on. So I mean, hey, W for the Cavs. That's really all I have to say. I haven't talked much about the Raptors, like, as a team. They've been dealing with injuries. They started off, like, the second the All-Star break, they came back from the All-Star break, it was kind of rough, but then now they're starting to pick it up. They beat the Suns, they beat the Nuggets. Scotty's playing amazing, Siakam's playing amazing, Boucher's doing good, and Van Vliet is in and out of the rotation because he's kind of injured. And then Trent is still trying to get back to it, and OG is injured at the moment. So at full health, this Raptors team can be a scary team in the East. But I don't know how far they can make it in the playoffs. Because, like, when you compare it to the other teams, the Raptors can hang with these good teams. It's just, like, I don't know how much they can. I'm hoping they do good in the playoffs. But just, if from the outsider, they're definitely the underdog in this playoffs. Because out of all the teams here, they're the only team, other than really the Cavs, that doesn't have an actual superstar. But yeah, because the Heat, they have Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler I consider, like, he's like a top 15 player. Then you got the Sixers, of course, James and Joel. The Bucks, Giannis. The Bulls, DeMar. And Zach LaVine, I guess you could count that. The Celtics, Tatum. Then the Cavs don't really have anybody, and the Raptors don't really have anybody, but the Nets, of course, KD and Kyrie. Even the Hawks, Trae Young. But their Hawks are 9th. Now let's get to the below 8 seed teams. The Hawks have been struggling this year. They're starting to pick it up a bit, and they're 9 seed right now, so they do have a chance of making the playoffs. But they'd have to beat the Hornets and then beat either the Raptors or the Nets, if the playoffs start today at least. And I think the way we're seeing it right now, that looks like the way it's gonna end up, because the Wizards are a few games behind the Hornets, and the Knicks are trash, a few games behind the Wizards. So I think the way it's looking right now is probably gonna end up being the way we see it by playoff time. So honestly, hey, sure, sure, bet. What else can I talk about? Oh yeah, so I guess I can say, like, that the Hornets, I don't really have much to say about the Hornets. I don't have anything to say about the Hawks, really, except they were struggling, and they lost to the Pistons. So that's how and Trae was playing too. The Pistons clamped up Trae Young. I don't know what he's trying to pull. If the Raptors get eliminated by either the Hawks or the Hornets, because as long as they beat either the Hawks or the Hornets, like the Nets, even if they lose the Nets, they're fine. But if they as long as they beat the Hawks or the Hornets, then they're good. So if the Raptors lost to either of these teams, I would actually be so, like, why? I really want the Raptors to make the playoffs, of course. Now talking about these out of the playoff race teams, the Knicks are still in the playoff race, but I'm talking Pacers. Wow, that's actually sad. The Pistons and the Magic are both already out of the playoff race. I just saw that. They're both, like, unclinched a playoff spot. That's sad. The Pacers still have a chance. The Knicks and the Wizards both still have chances, but I like this time where we're starting to see teams make the playoff push, and like teams are trying to clinch a playoff spot. And in the West, I think actually teams at the bottom of the West still aren't eliminated out of it, but teams at the top of the West, like the Suns, they're clinched a playoff spot. But wow, okay, let me finish talking about the East first. So Detroit, Orlando, they're tanking, of course, and so ignore that. They're tanking, of course, and so are the Pacers. So all those teams are going for draft picks, and eventually they'll get them, and do I really need to talk about them? No. But the Knicks and the Wizards, those are two interesting teams to talk about. The Wizards got Kristaps now, and the Knicks, Julius Randle starting to turn up, so they're trying to make playoff pushes, but LeBron dropped 50 on the Wizards, and the Knicks are worse than the Wizards, so, I don't really have hope for either of these teams that they'll make the playoffs. The Knicks went from being that, the team that surprised everybody to being the team that disappointed everybody, and that's also happened with the Hawks, and, I don't really care. I'm just glad my Raptors are back. Anyways, that's enough talking about the East. Now we gotta talk about the West. The Suns are on fire. They just beat the Lakers by 30, so, they're good. They're really good at basketball. Then the Grizzlies are also, they're above the Warriors, which is crazy. I never thought that the Grizzlies would be above the Warriors this year, but based on the playoff picture, if the playoffs ended today, or if the season ended today, and the playoffs started, and all the teams in the play-in stayed in their spots, Grizzlies versus Timberwolves is actually a really good series. I really want to see that series. Then there's also Warriors Nuggets. That's a good series. Jokic versus Curry. You see a little. Both of them are just stars trying to get their teams to the championship. And I could low-key see the Nuggets winning that possibly. Then you got Jazz versus Mavericks. Luka versus Donovan. And you got Suns versus Clippers, and that's just a throwaway series. If PG and Kawhi ain't back, that's nothing. But if PG and Kawhi are back, then that might actually be an interesting series. We saw Kawhi that he's been trying to get better soon. A lot of the guys who've been injured, like Jamal Murray and who else? I don't know who else. But other guys who have been injured, they're trying to get back to playing. So that's good. You love to see it. Honestly, I want Kawhi to be back so bad. I haven't seen Kawhi play basketball in so long, and it's I actually miss him, bro. And so hopefully he comes back by playoff time, and if we can see a nice little close series with Kawhi there, and if the Clippers eliminated the Suns in the first round, whew, I'm all for it, but I don't know if it's happening. Kawhi and PG versus Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and who else is on the team? Booker. I completely forgot about him. That would be an interesting matchup. That would be a very interesting matchup. But yeah, Ja Morant is amazing at basketball. Curry he's low key. I haven't heard much about him. I heard he dropped 30 the other day, but other than that, he hasn't really done much. But it's still Curry, and it's still the Warriors. They're good. They need Draymond back. They do need Draymond back. When Draymond comes back, they're probably going to be better, and they might take back that second spot. But honestly, I hope they stay in third, because I like that little Warriors-Nuggets matchup, and I want the Grizzlies to face off against the Timberwolves. Does LeBron make it? Okay, this is a big... The Lakers are the main team I really want to talk about, and... yes, of course everybody wants to talk about the Lakers. They're everywhere. They're, and people are starting to give up and just stop watching the Lakers because they're bad and nobody cares about them anymore, right? But honestly, I was talking with a few friends a few days ago, talking about how LeBron could make the finals. And the reason I would say that, it could be a dumb take. And I'm not saying he will make the finals. Of course, there's a very, very, extremely small chance that he could make the finals this year. He's older. He got Westbrook on his team. My bad, Westbrook on his team. I'm sorry, Westbrook. He was talking about, I'm gonna get to that after. Actually, no, let me just talk. He was talking about, how his family don't even come to his games anymore, and I kind of feel bad for him. So I might stop calling him Westbrick, but at the same time, he's just giving more attention to it. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to do. It's like, it's fun to call him Westbrick, but at the same time, his family, you know, and he's at the end of the day, he's still a human, so we gotta respect him. And trust me, I love Westbrook. He was one of my favorite players when he was in OKC. I love to see him get that MVP. But so like, yeah, it's all fun and games. It's just he's been bad this year, and now he has his nickname that everybody's calling him, and this is what happens when you play bad, I guess. Like, when you play bad, you're gonna get the consequences, I guess, man. But yeah, he's got Westbrick on his team, so it's a very small chance that he ever would make the finals this year. But I mean, it's there. The opportunity is there, because he's carried a team to the finals. He's carried worse teams to the finals. That's what I'm trying to say. And if they face off against the Suns in the first round, which is probably the outcome right now, considering the Suns are absolutely amazing, if he faces off against them in the first round, there's a very small chance that he wins that series, because the Suns are really good, and he's just LeBron. And he lost to them last year, but pretty much the same team, except he added Westbrook. I said Westbrook. So there's a small chance that he actually beats the Suns. It would be cool to see him beat the Suns, but at the same time, I don't really want LeBron to win. I'm gonna be honest, like, I do want him to win, but at the same time, I want somebody else to get a chance, you know? Like, let me see the Grizzlies do good. Let me see, like, the Suns will be fine. If the Suns did good, they'll be fine. If the Warriors did good, they'd be fine. If the Lakers did good, they'd be fine. But anybody else other than that, please give me them. Like, I want to see the Grizzlies make the finals. I want to see the Jazz, the Mavericks, the Nuggets make the finals. I want to see these teams make the finals, and I want to see Jokic get a ring. I want to see Luka get a ring. I just want to see new stuff, new guys in the finals. If CP3 made it to the finals and then got a ring, sure, whatever. But I still would rather have a new team in the finals. If Ja made the finals and faced off against like the Cavs or something, I'd be all for that. To be honest, in the East, out of all the teams there in the recent years, the only teams that haven't been to the finals are the Sixers, the Bulls, Celtics, and Sixers, Bulls, Celtics, Cavs. But the Cavs were in the finals. But this is a new Cavs team, so I'm gonna say Cavs. Nah, Raptors were there. Low key, I don't want to see in the East. The team that I want to see succeed the most would either be, it'll probably be the Cavs. Maybe of course the Raptors first, because I'm a Raptors fan. But if it wasn't the Raptors, it'd probably be cheering for the Cavs or the Sixers, because Harden doesn't have a ring, Embiid doesn't have a ring, and it'd be good to see the Cavs a little underdog story, Cinderella story, you know what I'm saying? That would be kind of cool. But anyways, back to the West. If Utah could get it together, bro, like Utah, I've been hearing people say that Utah's saving their energy for the playoffs, and if they are doing that, that's amazing, because usually they're an amazing regular season team, but in the playoffs they're trash. So, well, not trash. Donovan is good in the playoffs. It's just Rudy. The Clippers took advantage of Rudy, and then he lost, and Terrence Mann. So, if the Jazz could do something low-key, I'd want that. If the Jazz could make the finals, that'd be a W. I just want the Jazz to do good, because Donovan Mitchell is one of my favorite players in the league, and I want him to succeed at the end of the day. You want the players that you like to succeed. So, if Donovan Mitchell could do good this year, then that would be great. You can't forget the Timberwolves are most likely making the playoffs. Unless they lost the Clippers and then lost the Lakers. That would just be really unlucky. It'd be really cool to see a Clippers-Lakers play-in rematch. Or not rematch, but little matchup. What would be really embarrassing is if the Lakers lost to the Pelicans in the play-in. That would be terrible. That would just I wouldn't have no words for that, bro. But that's very unlikely. The Pelicans. Let me start talking about the lesser teams now. The Timberwolves are a team that I do want to succeed. It's Anthony Edwards, Cat, D'Lo, but out of all the teams here, I think they have the lowest chance of actually winning. Other than the Pelicans, like, they have the lowest. Actually, the Pelicans might. Nah, but Zion will be rusty. But the Pelicans still might have a chance because they got Zion, CJ, Jonas Valanciunas, Brandon Ingram. But it's between the Timberwolves and the Pelicans for who has the lowest chance. But if Zion doesn't come back, it's probably the Pelicans. But if Zion does come back, it might be the T-Wolves. It's just this T-Wolves team. I'm happy to see them making the playoffs, but I don't think it's going to take them farther than that. Then you got the Pelicans. I already talked about them a little briefly. If Zion comes back, W. If Zion doesn't come back, wait till next year. Then you got the out of the play-in teams. The Trailblazers are just a game behind the Pelicans right now for the play-in spot. But just getting there wouldn't even mean much because you're trying to rebuild, but at the same time you're trying to win because you have Damian Lillard on your team. So I don't know what the Trailblazers are doing really. They need to get Dame help. It's either that or they gotta trade him because I feel like Dame's going to be one of those loyal guys, but at the same time, like, the team isn't building around him well enough. So, the Blazers got to do something this offseason, bro. If it's getting a good pick and then trading that pick along with, like, Nurkic and like, Josh Hart for, let's say they got the second pick, for example. Let's say they trade the second pick, Jusuf Nurkic, and Josh Hart for like, what would be a good return for that? Or a good guy to get? Maybe Porzingis, but Porzingis just got in his new team. Who would be a good guy to get back in a deal like that? From a team that's not trying to win games, really. Maybe Julius Randle, but that's not. Well, that is a bit of help. Bradley Beal would be interesting. You'd have to probably give him Anthony Simons though. I could see a Bradley Beal deal happening though. Even though they just got Porzingis though. So that would be interesting though. It would be really interesting if you got Julius Randle from the Knicks. Like just Nurkic and Josh Hart, not even adding in the second pick for Randle, I mean. That would be an interesting deal for the Blazers. And it would help their team. Anyways, now we're getting to the bottom feeder teams. The Spurs are not looking to win, of course, but they got Greg Popovich's wins. Now that's pretty much it for the season. They're just going to tank. And then the Kings, oh my gosh, the Kings traded their future for Domantas Sabonis, and they're not even, they're closer to being, actually no, that's not true. They're not a play-in team. That's what I'm trying to say. They're not a play-in team. And they're not going to be a play-in team. Because they'd have to beat the Spurs with DeJounte Murray. They'd have to beat the Blazers with Anthony Simons and Josh Hart, who's randomly really good, who just dropped 44 the other day. They'd have to beat the Pelicans with Zion, who might come back eventually, Brandon Ingram and CJ, and Jonas Valanciunas and Devontae Graham. But they have to beat a lot of teams to get up there, man. And I don't think that's happening. And so this Kings team is just a mess. It's just a complete mess. And I did a Kings rebuild, and that's the rebuild I did succeed on, but like the Kings are a mess, man. The Kings really need help. I'm not gonna talk about the Thunder and the Rockets, other than I guess I feel bad for Shea, because Shea's a good player. He made the playoffs in like his first year in OKC. And he also made the playoffs with the Clippers, now I think about it. So he has a good amount of playoff experience. And I'm just hoping that he can, eventually this team is going to be good. Because they have like 30 million picks. So eventually this team is going to be good. I wonder how they're going to use those picks this year though. Because this year's a pretty top-heavy draft class. Because you got Paolo Banchero, you got Jabari Smith Jr., you got Jaden Ivey. Apparently Imani Bates fell off, which kind of sucks. Is Chet Holmgren in this draft class? I don't know. But my point is, you got some good guys in the draft class, and if the Thunder can capitalize on that, that's a W. The Rockets are even worse than I thought they'd be. Actually, I think I predicted this for them. I'm pretty sure, because I remember I was saying that Shea could get them a few wins for the Thunder, so the Rockets were probably going to be really bad. So I think this is where they should be, and they could get a good pick from this. Hopefully, get somebody to help out with Jalen Green. Maybe a real point guard, but there's not many good point guards. Maybe a power forward. I think a good power forward would be good for the team. So Kevin Porter Jr., get John Wall to teach Kevin Porter Jr. how to be a point guard. Then you run Jalen Green to the shooting guard. Jae'Sean Tate, I guess, the small forward if you want. Paolo Banchero at power forward, and then center you got Christian Wood. That's honestly a W team, a young team, but a W team. But this Rockets team is just, it's still disappointing, but not disappointing in the way you think it's disappointing. It's disappointing in the way where I thought it was going to be more fun than this. I thought it was going to be a fun little team with Jalen Green sky high, Kevin Porter Jr. getting buckets, Christian Wood getting buckets, but it's not exactly what I thought it'd be, so that kind of sucks. And I'm pretty sure that's the video. I talked about most of the teams in the league. I gave each team maybe about 5 seconds of time. Is there anybody I missed? Dallas. Luka is alone, but somehow he's managing, and he's actually very close to being Utah. I mean, and he's not even alone. Like, the supporting cast in Dallas has actually surprised me. Dorian Finney-Smith, Jalen Brunson, Maxi Kleber, Spencer Dinwiddie's been actually really good. And I like to see that Luka is like you see Luka as the main star, and you see a nice little supporting cast around him, and it's not exactly what I imagined being the perfect team for Luka, but somehow it is the perfect team for Luka. And if it works, it works. I'm happy for him. W Luka, good job. Hopefully he gets somewhere in the playoffs, at least the second round. I want to see Luka get to the second round. But yeah, maybe by the end of the month, my playoff prediction will come out. Actually, I'll do a play-in prediction along with a season review and like award prediction, kinda like end of the year award prediction, or not even award prediction, more like just my awards, my personal awards. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm pretty sure I went through every team. Yeah, I talked about the clip. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure you could legit call this me talking about every team, or giving at least every team at least 5 seconds. I didn't really talk about the Hawks. LaMelo Ball is pretty good at basketball. He was an all-star, and they're in the play-in, so I guess they're doing good. They're actually on a 1-game win streak. They're 4-6 in their last 10, which isn't great, but they're managing. I don't think they're really gonna go far, but that Hawks versus Hornets playing game should be pretty good. Anyways, yeah, that's enough for this video. I've been rambling for the past 33 minutes, so it's probably going to be called 34 minutes of me rambling about the NBA. So, if you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, share. Don't forget to turn notifications. Although I don't post much on this channel, I really should, and I might try to do it more eventually. So, yeah, turn on noties so you get notified about each video, because I'm going to be talking about the NBA, especially with the playoffs coming sooner. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.